Queen Mary of Denmark, whom we all know for her timeless elegance and active role in the royal family, has recently been in the spotlight for an unexpected yet much discussed trip to Australia. More specifically, she headed to her native Tasmania, where her father, retired Professor John Donaldson, now 83, lives. Right after a family ski outing during the winter break for the kids, in the 7th week of the year, Mary, according to Bildblatt, set off for Hobart to visit her dad. This news sparked quite a bit of chatter, mainly because the Danish Royal Court hadn't announced her trip in advance. Some Danes found it odd, since, on paper, the head of state's duties had officially passed to their eldest son, Prince Christian, while Mary and her husband, King Frederik, were thousands of kilometers away on a private getaway. However, insiders say that the visit to her father was planned and is only going to be a short stay. The palace emphasized that Mary had known about the upcoming trip well ahead of time and didn't intend to linger in Australia for too long. Still, supporters of the theory that John Donaldson might be having health issues weren't silent. Over the past few years, there have been murmurs that Mary's father hasn't been doing too well health-wise in his homeland, and he's long preferred not to fly across half the globe. Back in 2022, during the confirmation ceremony of Princess Josephine, one of the royal couple's daughters, John Donaldson, didn't come to Denmark, even though he usually made it a point not to miss such family celebrations. At that time, Mary herself explained that her father had become a more elderly gentleman for whom long, exhausting journeys are not so easy. Of course, she didn't hide her sadness about the matter, as she has always been very close to her father. In fact, it was he, once a guest lecturer at universities around the world, including in Denmark, who helped Mary settle in when she moved after getting engaged to Frederik nearly 2 decades ago. When Mary first joined the royal family, her father was there for her. He came to Denmark and even worked as a temporary lecturer at Aarhus University to be by her side and help her adjust to the new surroundings. Later on, he managed to teach at other educational institutions in the country, including the renowned Soro Academy and Herlufsholm School. Over the years, the role of this wise, scholarly figure, who is adored by his grandchildren, has only grown. Mr. Donaldson has often taken on some of the childcare responsibilities for Mary and Frederik when their royal duties kept them extremely busy. And although he prefers to stay out of the limelight and avoid unnecessary media attention, the public's curiosity about him has always been high, especially given that Mary was born in Australia, making her move once the subject of international buzz. Now that Mary is effectively queen and her husband has ascended the throne, every one of their trips attracts global attention. Moreover, Danes still vividly remember the challenges of recent years, when the pandemic and various changes complicated international travel. Any royal appearance abroad, especially in such a distant corner of the world, sparks discussion. On one hand, the public wants to know what's happening behind the scenes in the royal family. On the other hand, they can reasonably accept that Mary, as a loving daughter, might want to spend time with her father without all the official fanfare. This time around, the royal couple didn't offer any details in advance. Only after Mary left for her father did the royal court feel compelled to explain publicly that the trip had been planned for a while and wouldn't be long-lasting. Still, whether it's purely a family visit or a concern over John Donaldson's health, remains behind closed doors. It's also worth noting that when Frederik and Mary left the country, they handed over some of their representative duties to the future heir to the Danish throne, Prince Christian. In any case, if you look at the facts, Mary's visits to Australia have become more frequent lately. For instance, last fall she came here with her daughter Josephine, while King Frederik stayed back in Denmark busy with his own affairs. So, these family trips to the other side of the world aren't exactly a rarity for the Queen, who, despite her status and busy schedule, never misses a chance to spend quality time with her family. And of course, we can't deny that concerns about John Donaldson's health still worry royal fans. His age and previous comments about the challenges of long flights suggest that each new visit Mary makes to Tasmania might hold special importance. The elderly professor has always played a significant role in his daughter's life, and from her recent interview remarks, it's clear she sees her father as an indispensable support. Just the thought of being able to hug him makes the Queen feel more secure, so it's completely understandable that she'd want to visit her native lands more often and be there for her family when they reach an age where traveling to Europe isn't as easy. At the moment, it's not clear exactly when Mary will return to Denmark. There's a joint public event scheduled for King Frederick and Queen Mary on February 24, so obviously she'll need to be back by then and ready for the official protocol. For now, nothing is stopping her from staying in her native Tasmania. And so far, there hasn't been any new official word from the Danish Royal Court. One might say that, at this point, it's probably for the best. Since Mary is spending time with her family, she might really be craving some peace and quiet, away from intrusive headlines and flashing cameras. Meanwhile, both Danes and international fans remain keenly interested in any details, because this trip back to her roots isn't just a nod to family ties. It's also an important reminder of how royals try to balance state duties with personal life. We'll be watching closely to see if the Queen returns on time and shares any details about her meeting with her father. After all, for her, it's not just about royal protocol, it's a human story of love for her family which has always come first.